Once something becomes big, it rarely ever dies completely. It often comes back in a new way, shape, or form, as is the case with the classic Full House and its new sequel series, Fuller House. Full House was an American sitcom series that spanned 8 seasons and ran from 1987 to 1995. The show had a huge fan base, and when it ended, there was disappointment amongst fans and its stars. Despite ending, Full House continued to gain fans and entertain new families and children, seeing as how it has very frequent reruns and has almost never been officially off air in almost 30 years since it started. When it was announced there would be a sequel show on Netflix, there were very mixed reactions. Some worried that it would be unsuccessful because the charm that Full House had would be very hard to bring into modern times. Others, though, were hopeful that this would be able to entertain them just as the original had so long ago. Does Fuller House manage to live up to the legacy of the original? Does it manage to entertain while also providing lovable characters and situations? And most importantly, is Fuller House able to take what made Full House a classic and bring it into modern times? Let's find out. On paper, Fuller House can be seen as just a rehash of Full House. In Full House, Danny Tanner had his best friends Joey Gladstone and his brother-in-law Jesse Katsopoulos move in to help him raise his 3 daughters, DJ, Stephanie, and Michelle, after his wife dies in a car accident. In Fuller House, DJ Fuller Tanner has her best friend Kimmy Gibbler and her sister Stephanie Tanner move in to help her raise her 3 sons, Jackson, Max, and Tommy, after her husband dies in a fire. The comparisons don't stop there though. Both Joey and Kimmy are described as being the weird and funny friend, while both Uncle Jesse and Stephanie are described as being the cool uncle/aunt who can be a bit misguided at times. Despite these similarities in plot and characters though, Fuller House does manage to be different. Each character has their own personality. Each character has to go through their own struggles and problems, and each character is pretty unique. There's also the added character, Ramona, Kimmy's daughter. Ramona doesn't have a Full House counterpart, so it's an addition that helped it stand out. The premise might be the same, but the execution is what makes Fuller House stand out. Now, seeing as how Full House was popular, it can be expected for Fuller House to have a lot of references to the original. All of the original cast returns, with one, technically 2 exceptions. The only notable character missing is the youngest daughter, Michelle Tanner. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, who shared the role of Michelle, didn't return for Fuller House. Her absence is explained away with them saying that Michelle is busy in New York running her fashion empire. This also leads to a quite humorous scene in which the entire family looks directly into the camera disapprovingly for about 20 seconds or so. The opening is the same song from the original, except it is now being sung by Carly Rae Jepsen. There are a lot of callbacks to the original, and while nostalgia is used a lot, it's never used more than is needed, with perhaps the exception of the pilot episode. The pilot episode serves not only as the pilot of the show, but also as a reunion special for the cast, since it's the only episode that they're all in it together. It's one of the reasons why the pilot is almost twice as long as any other episode. A lot of callbacks and homages to the original are nice, but they can feel a little forced or out of place for someone who didn't see the original version. 2 great examples of this are how the pilot, the opening, is an exact shot-for-shot recreation of the original opening, except for a few changes where needed. The pilot also ends with the characters singing the Flintstones theme songs to a crying Tommy the exact same way they sang the Flintstones theme song to a crying Michelle in the first episode of Full House. It even has a side-by-side comparison of the original to this one. These were very well done, and they even made a few fans of the original tear up or even cry from the nostalgia and the memories of the good old days coming back. But for someone that has no connection to the original, this could really feel out of place and definitely feel forced. There are more flashbacks throughout the show, but they're short, and they even make sense for someone who has not seen the original, and they work in the context given. Other than the pilot, the show doesn't rely on nostalgia too much and manages to stay its own thing. Although a few running gags from the original series do come back and are here to stay, such as the various catchphrases each character has, Kimmy Gibbler being quite a strange person, and all the jokes about her feet. In fact, the way jokes are set up in general is pretty much the same as Full House. The original Full House was especially well loved for being a very family-friendly show. Fuller House followed this, but not entirely. There are a lot more adult jokes and sexual innuendos in Fuller House, but personally, I feel it can still be viewed as a family. Sure, it might not be as family-friendly as the original, but it is nowhere near being an adult sitcom. Full House had its fair share of adult jokes and innuendos, especially in the later seasons, yet that show was always viewed as a family-friendly show. Most of the adult jokes in Fuller House are in the first 3 or 4 episodes, and after that they are spread out very sporadically throughout the rest of the episodes. Another thing that the show does right is the fact that it manages to have very serious moments mixed into its funny moments. Full House managed to find a great balance between comedy and seriousness. Fuller House might be a little more on the silly side, but it does have its moments and its scenes that will definitely touch the viewer. For example, when Ramona confesses that all she wants for her birthday is for her parents to get back together. Or when DJ realizes she's about to go on her first date since her husband dies, leaving her to wonder, is she really ready to start dating again? And especially the best scene of all of Fuller House, and perhaps one of the best scenes in Full House, is when Stephanie breaks down and tearfully confesses to her sister DJ she's infertile and cannot have children of her own. These moments all bring the viewer closer to the characters. You can relate to these people. You can relate to your lives through this. One of the things that I will note though is that Fuller House has not done such a good job on teaching lessons. While Full House usually ended with a character learning something or growing in some way, Fuller House doesn't really follow this trend. Sure, the characters grow, but there aren't really any morals that the viewer can take home from each episode. Finally, let's go ahead and talk about the characters in Fuller House, starting with the old returning characters. For the most part, the adults are all the same. They show up every once in a while to help out when needed, but their story is done and the focus is never on them. As for the old children, who are now the new adults, they have all changed, but they still keep some of their childhood personalities that we all knew and loved. DJ is a veterinarian, and is very much so the main character. A lot of time is spent dealing with her getting back to dating after so long. Stephanie has become a very free spirit, and she is so much a party girl. She's gone around the world with her successful career as a DJ, ironically named DJ Tanner. Kimmy has formed her own planning party services, Gibbler style. Now, seeing as how she's a main character, Kimmy has evolved from her basic weird girl joke personality, but she's still quite a strange person, and it works for her. Now on to the new characters. Ramona is Kimmy's daughter. While originally hesitant to live with the Fullers, she grew close to the family rather quickly. Ramona can be quite the troublemaker, and is usually causing problems for Jackson, the oldest child. Jackson himself usually takes advantage of his younger brother Max. Max, being the middle child, has a lot of problems, but since Stephanie herself was the middle child, she helps him out along throughout the way. Tommy is the youngest child, and he's the baby of the family. Though, unlike with Michelle, Tommy isn't used to show the fact that the adults are incompetent and can't raise a baby, since, in this case, all of the adults have experience raising a baby. DJ had 2 children of her own, Stephanie helped raise Michelle ever since she was a child, and Kimmy had Ramona. The new characters are somewhat overshadowed by the older characters though. Fuller House is very much DJ's story. She has the most episodes featured around her, and she has the most problems. Kimmy has the biggest side plot, but that leaves Stephanie and the kids to share the spotlight amongst themselves. Hopefully if Fuller House gets a second season, it shares time with each character better, because Full House always did a great job making sure each character had equal importance. In the end, Fuller House is an interesting show, and it's a little hard to describe and rate it. In general, I have to say, if you're a fan of the original Full House, then you will like Fuller House. And if you don't like the original, you most likely will not like this. Overall, I have to say that Fuller House is great! For me personally, at least. I might not have grown up with Full House, and in fact, I didn't even like it the first time, but the characters quickly grew on me, and I feel this is a nice continuation of their stories. For others though, I'd say Fuller House is just an average play. If you've seen Fuller House, let me know what you think. Fuller House, again, is quite the interesting thing to do, and it's very much Full House in modern times. They have all the modern things such as social media, Ubers, etc. It's a Full House, but it's a modern take on it. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time!